Right. Sorry to keep you. Right. Good evening all. Hope everybody's well. Well, good morning. It's now 7 minutes past midnight. Two Rivers Folk. Hi. Pipes and Bees. Tim. Old Lang Syne. Matches 860. Good evening to you. Well, the connection seems to be pretty good tonight. Bottoms up. Oh, just what the doctor ordered. Okay. I think we're going to start with a pipe. And I think I'm going to go with some HH Mature Virginia, which has become a very, very enjoyable tobacco for me. Just, yeah, one and only solitary tin, which I got from the Esrati sale from 2010. And it's delicious. Absolutely delicious. Beautiful, sweet, a little bit spicy. Not really, just a tad. More like a sweet Christmas pudding kind of spice. It's got quite a spicy aroma in the tin note. But in the smoke, it's delicious. It's got, you can see it's quite aged, the paper, with the juices of the tobacco. And it's just great. Okay, let's just choose a pipe. I think I'm going to smoke the Tom Phillips Freehand, which is this one, a very nice freehand pipe. I don't smoke it as often as I should, really. And this tin is ready to smoke. I don't keep it in an airtight container, as I do with my long-term open tins. Well, besides for the ones that are jarred, of course. So this evening, I had intended blending the first of the GQ tobaccos. As a lot of you may know, GQ Tobaccos, previously owned by Glyn Quelch, and who sold it to Sam Bramer. Hey Razvan, how you doing? We're going to start with a pipe, so you'll have to wait till we get to cigars, I'm afraid, tonight. It's a pleasure, Two Rivers. Was that a Cuban or a non-Cuban, A. Chapman? Oh, cool. Very good. Just in case you're wondering, Smoker Circles matches, I don't know if you're still on, but you may well remember these. I'm not trying to say anything about your age, but you've been smoking probably one of the longest. Hey Tree, how you doing? Smoker Circles, I won this in the Pipe Club of London's meetup on Tuesday. And they're basically like tracing paper. I don't know if they've got any kind of special I'll show you, I've got another one somewhere flying around. Here we are. I did show it in my video of the actual meetup. I should actually try this, but I just don't know what's in these. So you get a bunch of these circular sheets of paper, and I don't know if there's any combustible chemicals in there or not, or retardant even, to slow down the smoke. I've got no idea. You basically take a single sheet and you put a pinch of tobacco in, you wrap it up and twist the top to make a little, like a pointy end, and you just invert it and put it into the bowl and smoke it. And it's supposed to give you the perfect smoke. But I'm so far not brave enough to smoke it. It's a bit silly, I suppose. At the end of the day we're smoking, so smoke this or smoke that. Don't know. Anyway, so that was that. So anyway, so I've got another one of those, and I just covered the switch to my extractor fan just to make it a little bit more palatable. They're new to you. Okay. You're a young man, Matches. You look more and more youthful in each of your videos. Right, platitudes over. So, as I was saying, hold on, let me light up. So GQ Tobaccos. Glyn was well recognised as a master blender, and I don't think it's an exaggeration to call him a master blender. His blends were very, very well received and well enjoyed. You can still see a number of his videos helping people out, showing you how to blend if you want, that kind of thing. And I've got a lot of time for people who share their skill. People who do that are comfortable in their own existence and place in life. Whereas I was recently on a Facebook group, and many of you may well know, hi Quaker, many of you may know my predilection for McClelland Virginias at the moment. And so this gentleman mentioned to me, messaged me on one of my posts, and said he just came. When I was actually talking about this McLaren's, it wasn't about Virginia. It wasn't about McClelland's. It was actually about this stuff. And I mentioned if anybody sees any out there and find some, pick some up. Obviously, you pay for it and all that. But let me know. I'll buy it myself. So this guy, hi Geary, this guy pipes, excuse the pun. I think that's one of the reasons why I don't smoke this pipe so often, because it's quite breathy, as you can hear. Not quite a whistle, but it's certainly breathy. And I also get a bit of gurgle, which is quite unusual for a straight pipe. Well, it's almost straight. It's only got a slight bend. But it's a very pretty pipe, so still needs to be smoked. Perhaps I'll re-drill it. We'll see. And just to broaden the draft a little bit. Anyway, I digress. So this gentleman said that he'd come across a B&M, which he's always got an old stash of McBaron tins. So I said to him, I messaged him back and I said, where is this? Firstly, any chance you could pick some up if it's local to you? If not, send me their details and I'll call them. So he procrastinated. And so far, he still hasn't sent me the details. And he says he'll look it up and try and find it. And I find that to be very, I was quite disappointed. He was clearly holding it to himself in fear that, God forbid, somebody else might actually benefit from some advice from him. Conversely, when somebody like Glyn puts his trade out there and shares the information and helps you out to enjoy your hobby, I've got a lot of time for people like that. Hey, Brybed. So Glyn, he owns GQ Tobaccos, and as the EU regulations started to get more and more prohibitive and archaic, he found that he could no longer blend his blends. In the EU now, the restrictions are extremely tight on what you can and can't do, even more so what you can and can't show on the tin. I mean, cigarettes now don't have a design. Cigarette boxes no longer have a design in the EU. They're plain boxes. And it wouldn't surprise me if pipe tobacco tins went that way in the fullness of time. I'm not usually familiar with the EU regulations, but what I do know is that, for instance, a lot of aromatics have had to change their name, because if you call Dunhill Flake is a good example. Dunhill Flake used to be called Light Flake, I think, and they had to remove the light because it was too attractive for the youth of today's society. I mean, that's just stupid to think that, first of all, kids nowadays, they're not going for pipe tobacco, are they? Let's be honest. They're going for stuff which is far more potent than pipe tobacco. So it's all a little bit stupid. It's political, in as much as I know that the FDA have created a whole hoo-ha in the USA. And I follow reasonably closely the war which is being waged against the FDA in terms of premium cigars and pipe tobacco. But to be honest, although I think they have had a modicum of success recently, I can't remember the details of it, but I think they did have some degree of success in separating some of the tobaccos. Anyway, so I continue to digress. So GQ Tobaccos blended some great tobaccos. He had to stop doing that. Yeah, that was a good one. The VS Flake, you're quite right there, Quaker. It's quite funny. I always have a little chuckle whenever I pull out one of those tins. So, GQ Tobaccos, he found it to be quite right, Pipeman 1958. I think you're probably right. Well, mouldy tobacco, somebody did point out that mould contains carcinogens, but to be honest, so does tobacco. Anyway, to get back to the point, I think Glyn found it all a little bit too restrictive and sold the company. Stopped blending and sold the company to Sam, who now runs it, and is constantly improving and evolving the website, and very happy. Anyway, so I ordered 4 of the blends. Sorry, I'm cutting a little bit short here. They've been trying to find a loophole, some way of reproducing Glyn's blends. And recently, Glyn announced on the UK TPC face group page, he first whet our appetites by saying, I've got an announcement to make, hang fire, and I'm going to tell you what it is. So obviously, he must have had like 150 responses on that post saying, what? Anyway, eventually he posted and said that he's now found a loophole in as much that he's able to create kits whereby say a blend had 5 tobaccos in it, he can send you the individual tobaccos with whatever, if it was an aromatic, whatever constituent parts created the aromatics, and he can give it to you all in separate form, and you blend it yourself. So you chuck it all into a bowl and blend it, simple as that. And some of the flake versions, obviously you can press it yourself and create flakes or a cake. I think Asquith cake is one of those. So you won't be able to get a cake, but you'll get the ingredients, and if you're so mindful, you can create a cake yourself. So I was very excited by that. I did manage to, when I first started smoking a pipe, not that long ago, only approaching 3 years now, believe it or not, I caught the tail end of GQ tobaccos as was, and managed to try quite a few of the blends. I remember specifically Clementine's Nip, which I didn't enjoy too much. I found it to be a little bit too floral. But there's a couple which I particularly wanted to try. So far they've released 5. I've ordered 4 of them. I really expected them yesterday or today, Saturday, but for some reason they didn't arrive. Royal Mill, if you ask me, does not live up to its name and shouldn't get the Royal Crest, because their service is not as it should be. It really isn't. Well, perhaps I'm being a bit hasty, unless GQ for some reason didn't send it out swiftly enough. That's a possibility. So tonight's live view was going to be blending one of those blends, and I was hoping to do one each week, and then tasting the one from the previous week and so on, because he does suggest that you blend them and allow them to marry for at least a couple of weeks. Yeah, Tim, that's been my experience generally, so that's why my initial reaction was to blame Royal Mail, but it's a possibility that they didn't send it out on time, so I have to be even-handed, I guess. Either way, I'm disappointed. Well, we've got the pipe show coming up Sunday week. That's today in a week in Nottingham. And as some of you have heard, I've tried in the past 2 years to go and haven't managed. But this year so far, my diary still says that I can go. There's always the possibility that I'll get booked up for work a day or two before, because I often get booked on short notice. Case in point, I was booked yesterday for a job this coming Monday, tomorrow. So that can happen. But I think on this occasion, I will probably take your view on it, and depending on how much potentially I can earn with the work, I may well turn it down, which is quite rare for me, especially after my daughter's wedding a couple of weeks back. So lots of debts to pay off. Right, that's enough rambling from me. Gentlemen, what's news? Who's been watching the World Cup? I'm so out of the football. But obviously, being patriotic, I do want England to do well. But I'm also a realist. Are the United States in this year? This time round? Oh, Tree, I just remembered. Thank you. Chris, you're really very, very kind. You sent me a lovely cigar book, an encyclopedia, in fact. I'm going to show it to you. Didn't do an official Gabo. Perhaps I should have. Sorry about that. 3. It's the World Encyclopedia of Cigars by Julian Holland. And this dates 1999, if I remember correctly. And it covers not just Cuban cigars, but cigars around the world, which is very cool. Very nice colour photos, 98 and 99. It hasn't really got much in the way of current non-Cubans, but it's got all the Cuban blends. They haven't changed much over the years, besides for availability of various vitolas within each mark. But all the makes are there, well, except for the ones that left Cuba. So you won't find Dunhills and Davidoffs in here. No, these are already not made in Cuba. Dominican Republic. Yeah. Henry Clay, okay, you do have those nowadays. Now, a lot of these are probably Macanudos, of course. Monte Cristo Montesino, does that still exist as a non-Cuban? Nat Sherman, of course. Okay, I've only had a quick fly through it. But that's a great book which I'm going to enjoy reading on the throne. Thank you, Tree. Oh, that's a shame. I think the last time England met them, I think we lost. Could be, Tree. Let's have a look. I've got a Partigas D4 sitting here next to me waiting for a little bit later, so we'll have a look. You certainly do seem to be on the money there, Chris. They do look Partigas. D4. That's a D4. And that's a D4. Oh yeah, spot on. Good call, Chris. Oh, Razvan, are you indulging in a cigar at the moment? Just occurred to me that I should have really taken out the Dunhill Navy Rules Escudo mashup. Didn't think of that. We're now at, what are we, the 17th of June. So we're about 3 weeks from when this was mixed up. Davidoff Nicaragua. For me, out of the Davidoff range, Nicaragua is probably my favourite blend. I've tried the various other ones. The Yamasa is quite interesting. Hey Jay, how you doing? So the Yamasa, when it first came out, I tried it. It was quite interesting. What size is the Diadema? Alright, so what is that, like a 7 inches by 54 at the widest point? Well, I'm not sure that I'd have the patience to smoke a non-Cuban for that long, to be honest. But you know, obviously not having smoked one, a bit of a silly comment really, because it could be a fantastic smoke. But the Nicaragua certainly for me had the best flavour out of all of them. Because I'm kind of at a disadvantage in that, well, advantage or disadvantage, that I'm mostly, in terms of cigars anyway, I'm mostly smoking Cubans. So when I smoke a non-Cuban, I'm, in my mind, I'm comparing it to my general normal experience with cigars, which is Cuban cigars. And the non-Cubans, for me, they're just a different animal. They're just a different species. I've seen people online who, American channels, who smoke non-Cubans day in, day out, and absolutely love them. And then they'll do a review on a Cuban cigar, and they'll kind of be very indifferent about it. And to me, as a Cuban smoker, I'm kind of in my mind saying, what are you talking about? How can you not see the difference between the Cuban and the non-Cuban, and how fantastic the Cuban cigar is? And then I kind of checked myself, and I realized that for somebody who hasn't smoked a Cuban cigar regularly, they're probably going to find it quite mild and quite insipid and quite bland, because their palate will have always been assaulted by much stronger, more robust, peppery. Not always. Not, I'm saying, you know, perhaps not Connecticut and so on, but I think Maduras are probably very, very popular there. But anyway, in any event, Padrones, all of the high-end cigars in America are all pretty punchy. A lot of them are, anyway. Topaz is a great cigar, Jay, as you well know. You don't need me to tell you that. I've yet to smoke a Reserva, though. I'm always jealous of the pictures that people put up, especially Jay, with their Reservas and Grand Reservas. Yeah, Razwan, you're probably right. Well, I don't know if it's bias. I think it is. It's not palate difference. It's palate customization, if that's such a word. It's what you're used to. So when you're tasting something different, it's just different. Which is why I'm rarely blown away by a non-Cuban cigar. Because in our mind, if I'm driving a Rolls Royce, and I'm constantly driving a Rolls Royce, and then somebody puts me on the most expensive Harley Davidson, they're a different experience. They're both going to take me from A to B, but they're very different. And I think that the difference between non-Cubans and Cubans is that much, although they're slightly different types of vehicle. In terms of a car and a motorbike, not the best analogy, but I think you get what I'm saying. I think that Cuban cigars and non-Cubans are a completely different species, and you can't compare them. And to me, it doesn't make sense, somebody who smokes Cuban cigars, to give an informed, unless they smoke them regularly, to give an informed decision. And that's why when I do a cigar video on a non-Cuban, in fact, on any tobacco, whether it's pipe tobacco or cigar tobacco, I never call it a review. You will not find a single video of mine which uses the word review. Not to my memory anyway, and if I did, it wasn't intended. I've got, must be well over 500 videos on my channel, and lots of them are, if you, in inverted commas, reviews, but I will always call them first impressions, or second impressions, or a revisit, but I never call them a review, because I don't think for me anyway, first of all, I think that I'm not experienced enough. And I suppose, look, you can have people, I've seen people doing reviews when they've literally been smoking for a month. And that's fine. They're just giving their impressions. But I just don't feel the word review is appropriate for me to be giving a review. I just don't think I'm experienced enough. But I will certainly want to give my impressions, or my first impressions, and I think that's fair. But that's one of the reasons, is because when you're giving a review or an opinion of a non-Cuban cigar and not smoking them on a regular basis, I think it's, as you say, either biased based on palate, on your preference, and perhaps there is bias in there based because it's not what you smoke regularly. Possibly there's bias there as well, but therefore I don't call them reviews. Pipes and Spirits, Art, how are you doing? Hi George, welcome, thanks for joining. Razvan, what's your what would you say is your number one cigar of all time? Same question to you, Jay. In terms of, I would say an experience, not necessarily the most expensive cigar, and it doesn't have to be a Behike or a Reserva or anything like that, but perhaps your best smoking experience. So it could be a very basic cigar, but one that you just, a Robena Unicos. Very appropriate tree. Hi Joe, how you doing? A beautiful person has just joined us. Hi Jeff. You're just prejudiced, old lang syne. So clearly you don't smoke cigars. You beautiful, beautiful people. I'm smoking some McBaron Mature Virginia in my freehand from Tom Phillips. Yes, unfortunately, Quaker. I have put some feelers out to see if anybody's got some that they want to spare or trade. So far, without success. But I'm not too disappointed as long as I can get me some McClellans, which at the moment I have a reasonable supply. Not the biggest supply, but reasonable. This pipe's starting to whistle now. Sounds good, Tim. Robusto for me certainly is still my preferred Vitola generally, although I do enjoy a Pyramides, especially because I find that the Cuban Pyramides are not too densely packed. They're often quite lightly packed, so it'll smoke not that much longer than a Robusto, but it's a nice Vitola to smoke. It's usually a 52 ring gauge, 6 inches, tapered top, and it's just nice. It just feels like a nice Vitola to hold. I'm drinking coffee, my usual, cream topped with chocolate. in my stand-in cup until Art's cups arrive. And you are very lucky to have tried the Topaz out there in the States. Lanceros, I would probably like a lot more if I wouldn't have such a high percentage of tight cigars. I don't know why. I still don't know why the Cubans can't increase the consistency of their rolling. It's certainly better than it used to be. The Liga Privada, Jeff, is a nice cigar. Speaks sort of saying it as a Cuban cigar smoker, but I did enjoy it. I think I do have a video on my channel. Cohiba is a great cigar. You know, some people diss Cohiba because of the hype around it, because it's the most expensive of the most expensive. But you know what? It actually earns its reputation. I think they are a good cigar. They just need time. The Robusto is one of my favourite cigars. The Cohiba Robusto. Alright, what have I done with my lighter? I've tried the Toscanos. I think I've still got a couple in my humidor. I'm not a big fan. But you won't find anything as, put it this way, for the money, it's great value for money. It's not, I wouldn't throw it away, but it's just not my cup of tea. Well, George, aromatics will do that a lot of times, and some of the best aromatics are the best because they don't lose their flavour as you get through the bowl. A couple of things you could do is just tip out the ash every so often and relight. Relighting often regenerates the flavour a lot. Sometimes you get an improved flavour on a relight, but I think it varies from aromatic to aromatic. I've kind of lost track of the Ligas because it started off with the Liga Privada number 9, and then it's T52 and T this and T that and the Dirty Rat, and it's, I don't, as I say, I don't smoke them enough to follow them that closely to know exactly what they're. I've got a Flying Pig Undercrown, which I've had in my humidor for a while now, which I still haven't smoked. I think I did a video of the Undercrown soon after I smoked the Liga Privada number 9, and as I'm sure you all know the story with the Undercrown emerging as a result of the rollers making a blend similar to the number 9, so that they stopped smoking the number 9s and, you know, smoking the stock. But I actually think the Undercrown is a very good cigar. The Undercrown Maduro, which is the poor man's Liga Privada number 9. No, I have not, a Quaker. I have not smoked a Celebra, and I doubt that I will. I just don't get it. I mean, I know where it comes from, I know the history, but I just don't. Well, I've read about the history of it. I can't remember the details of it, other than it was presented when they, I think it was rollers, possibly in the Partagos factory. They were allowed to. I think part of their payment was a Celebra of cigars. I might have it wrong. My memory is not that great, but I did read it up at one point. But I just don't. I just can't quite get my head around sitting smoking a contorted cigar. It's a gimmick. I mean, it's sold now as a gimmick. It's not really sold on a serious level, smoke on a regular basis. It's more of a, in my opinion anyway, it's more of a tourist attraction thing. I think this pipe's done. I don't think it's going to give you any different flavour from any other Partagos, unless the blend's different. That's possible. Okay, another pipe or a cigar? Where are you based, George? Which country? Well, if you go onto, I don't know what websites you've got in France, but if you go onto GQ Tobaccos or Black Swan Tobacconist, My Smoking Shop, their prices are very reasonable, and they'll all have a good range of Savinellis, and you can pick some up for 60, 70 pounds, and they'll be great. Depends what your budget is. Or Smoke King is another one. Don't you have access to Chacom pipes, or what's the big company? €50 is not really mid-range, from what I've seen. I think you struggle. I think the way you want to go is to get a Rossi. A Rossi is from the seconds range from Savinelli, and those will be around the €50 mark. I don't think there are any Savinellis, or if there are, it's going to be very few and far between. Well, what I would advise you to do is to go online, is to go onto eBay, and there are quite a number of sellers, and you may well get lucky to find a Savinelli at that price anyway. But there is a carver called Mario Grandi, and I don't think it's the original carver from Mario Grandi, but their pipes are very reasonable. Some quite interesting shapes, some of them quite big and bulky, some of them not. But you can pick up pipes there for 23, 25, 30 pounds, 40 pounds, and they'll be good pipes to smoke. Absolutely nothing wrong with them. So definitely give them a try. Look that up. What is that big, huge French factory? It's another maker. I'm trying to remember it now. I think they make lots of pipes for other companies as well. Yeah, but he's going to struggle from smoking pipes. He's going to have the issue with shipping and with customs and all of that kind of thing. Not Butts Chaquin, but that's another one which is you can pick up Butts Chaquin for £50. No, there's a huge factory in France. It's a region. That's it, George. St. Claude. I've picked up some fantastic St. Claude pipes for £20–30. I've had about half a dozen, and I think I've gifted them all away. I don't think I've got any left. I sent one to Briar Boy, Aaron, in America, and I think I sent one to Alethea Binfor, otherwise known as London something or other, here on YouTube. And I think I might have sent one to the Peaches, I can't remember. But St. Claude, definitely go online, again, eBay, you'll find some St. Claude pipes, and they're very cheap. And they're very good pipes. Obviously, if you know your pipes a little bit, you'll know what you're looking for, and check through before you pull the trigger. Make sure you get a decent one. But they're very reasonable. Absolutely. Quaker, you're absolutely right. I didn't think of that. You're quite right. The Blake Marbriers. Yep. I mean, he's got seconds pipes for £18, £20 as well, and they're perfectly good smokers. And they're very robust, and they last you a lifetime. Quite right. Yep, I should have thought of that myself. Alright, I'm going to spark up this D4. I think it's from 2015. And when I got them, they were pretty useless. I'm almost finished them now, because they're pretty good now. Got a couple of years on them. A little bit snug. Got a nice cedar flavour going on. Yeah, Tree, 100%. It's a region, yeah, it is a town. But there are quite a number of pipes sold with St. Claude written on it. I mean, you probably know better than I do, but I certainly bought a bunch of them on eBay, very good prices, and was very happy with the quality. Well, old Lang Syne, I think you better change your place then, shouldn't you? As you said yourself, you changed seats. Let's have a quick look on eBay and see what it throws up. not so cheap anymore, are they? I'm trying to find a particular seller, and they always had 10 or 20 up for sale at around 20, 30 pounds. I don't know if they're still active or not. Well, look, here's from Germany, Botzraquan, £42, and you can make an offer as well. It's a new pipe. That's an interesting looking pipe. 9mm as well. Very nice. Lorenzo pipe, £42. Here you go, Rossi, £51. That's you know what, that's the way I would go. If you wanted a Savinelli, if that was your preference, then go for a Rossi because it is a Savinelli. Another Botzraquan, £42. Anyway, you get the picture. Jump onto eBay. Alright, Simon, all the best. Thank you very much. Jeff. Oh, good. How you doing? By the way, guys, whoever bought stuff from me in the Danny Shaw auction, the stuff was all sent out on Friday, except for the pipe and tamper set, Elwood, and I think that was you. I don't know why, but for some reason that got left on the desk. So that's going to go out either Monday or Tuesday. No, I've never heard of it. Kizami tobacco. Never heard of it. So what do you smoke, old lang syne? What's your, I assume you're smoking pipe tobacco or not even that? OLS. Forgive my ignorance. Old Dublin. Is that a make or just an old Dublin shaped pipe? Or did you do a video of your pipes from Sue? Elwood? Oh, I see. Old Dublin tobacco from Peterson. Okay. There's a lot of blends out there which people say are close to Sobranie. It's interesting how there are certain few blends which people try to mimic. Some of them, like the original Mississippi River, I think that Danish Pipe Shop have one, which is supposed to do that. Danish Pipe Shop have got some my own blends that do Balkan Sobranie as well, or similar. Oh, that's good, George. Let us know what you think of the Amphora Virginia. I've certainly enjoyed it. Try it half a bowl at a time. I do find that that one does lose some flavour as you get down the bowl. All right, gentlemen. I will not tarry longer. I don't have anything else really to contribute tonight. So unless there's any topics which, well, it would be an English or a Balkan, I guess, depending what's in it. Yeah, the prices here are ridiculous. There's no wonder why companies like Dunhill and the other companies which sort of going under. It's because there isn't a huge trade over the counter here in the UK because of the prices. The prices are ridiculous. And that's, I suppose, part of the intent, really, of the government. What surprises me, though, is that the cigar industry still seems to be doing well. And cigar prices here are they're just laughable. I can't afford to buy cigars here. Let me guess, Two Rivers, are you in Canada? I don't remember what you told me last time. Yeah. Yeah, Canada is very, very heavy. It's very anti-smoking. I remember a while back, it must be going back probably a couple of years now, a Canadian, I think it was a woman actually, won one of my giveaways. And I sent a really big box of tobacco, and it never arrived. And she said that everything gets pulled up at customs. It's really tough over there. €10 for a pouch of Borkum Riff. Well, who would want to buy Borkum Riff? I had a very early experience with Borkum Riff. I think it was Borkum Riff whiskey. I was on holiday, on vacation in Wales, or nearabouts in Wales. And that bit me like nobody's business. I think I had started one bowl and then I gave it away. I gave the pouch away. And you're lucky that they sent it on to you, Elwood. The thing with Four Noggins is I've had a lot of people diss them, and I've had pretty good success with Fornoggin. The only problem is that their shipping are extortionate. Yes, true, but is that enough to keep an industry alive? Because the majority of cigar smokers that I know, they're buying them either on Facebook or from overseas. It's all, yes, you can go into a shop, have a smoke, and have the odd one or two cigars, fine. But you couldn't, unless you're somebody like Winston Churchill, who literally went through thousands of cigars a year and had the money to pay for them. The average Joe Bloggs can't really afford to pay for Cuban cigars in this country on a regular basis. So it does surprise me that we still have a reasonable industry here. Places like JJ Fox, Davidoff, Dunhill, and all the online places all stock them. I feel bad because I still buy a fair amount of pipe tobacco from the English websites, but cigars quite rarely now. The price is just too prohibitive. I mean, a D4. Just trying to think what a D4 would cost. A D4 in this country must be around the £20 mark. And I probably paid less than half that for this. And then you've got the online websites that sell cigars, and they make them even cheaper. We've talked about this before, and yes, you do have the risk of, in terms of the quality of the cigars, but I bought some Connoisseur number ones, H. Upmann's, recently, and I paid, let's work this out, it worked out that I paid £5.40 per cigar for H. Upmann, Cuban H. Upmann Connoisseur number ones, and that's in steel. Oh, sorry, Elwood, I think that's just you. You made me swallow a bunch of cigar smoke just there. I don't think I've done that, and I'm pretty absent-minded sometimes. I don't think I've done that. Hey Josh, how you doing? How's your internet connection in the garage, or the shop as you would call it over there? Oh, Tree, you asked me before about that Razvan. That's not new, their auction. I did bid last year. They bring it out 2 or 3 times a year, the auction. It's been going for about 3-4 years now, and the prices are also, because you're generally buying aged cigars, you're paying a premium. And to be honest, I think it's also a risk. You don't know what you're going to get. You don't know how well they've been looked after. Some of them there, you can get some pre-embargo cigars And I mean, some of their best stuff goes for crazy money. You know, there's some humidors, limited editions and stuff like that, which go for 40, 50,000 pounds. This time round, I think they kind of, personally, I think that with time, that the industry, that auction industry, is going to dwindle, because in the first few auctions they sold some unbelievable cigars. I went for crazy money, but they had really rare stuff which people haven't seen. Loads of Davidoffs and Dunhills from Cuba, and they've sold them all. You know, they've kind of gone. People who were buying them have bought them, and they're stashing them away and collecting them. And this year, I've looked through them. You know, it's kind of meager pickings. They don't have the same kind of cigars that they had previously. They've certainly got some nice cigars, don't get me wrong, but nothing like how they had. Yeah, I suppose so, Razvan. You know, it's for collectors. That's what pre-embargo is just the value, and they just want to have them. I think you're probably right, but there are some people out there who are buying stuff and smoking it as well. The point I'm making is that they're not coming back onto the market. So when people are selling off their collections, they've kind of, they're almost to some extent selling themselves out of the market. And when prices go extortionate, as I've always said, the average person, consumer who enjoys smoking cigars, is priced out of the market. A very, very good case in point was the recent Cohiba Talisman, which started off at around 50, 60 pounds, and is already up at 150 pounds for a single cigar. And you get collectors and the Chinese market, and they'll just buy up regardless of price. They don't care. Money's no object. But the average consumer is priced out of the market. The last limited edition Cohibas that I bought was the 2014 Supremos, Robusto Supremos. And I think I went through one box of 10, and I sold 2 boxes before my daughter's wedding. And they were originally bought as investment, and I wasn't expecting to sell them as soon as I had to, but as soon as I did before the wedding, I made a little bit of a profit on them. But again, it went straight to China. The person bought them was a Chinese guy, lived in Wales or Scotland, but he asked me to send them straight off to China or Hong Kong. I can't remember where it was. I don't think cigars certify them. I think they will tell you that they are genuine, but they can't tell you anything about the history of the cigars. So they can look at a Cohiba and check out all the telltale signs as to whether they're genuine or fake. They can probably tell you if they're genuine, but the provenance, the history, how they've been stored, the humidity they've been at, they're completely relying on the seller. And unless you're made of money, personally, I think it's a big risk. Yes, Tim, absolutely. The Facebook industry, cigar industry, is very good. Elwood, I'll do my best to remember that when I do back your stuff up, I'll try to remember to put a couple of Cubans in there for you. Yeah, it's okay, Elwood. I know you won't. Certainly didn't come across that way. Good night, George. Thanks for taking part. Gentlemen, I think this is a good time to call it a morning. Thank you very much, everybody, for joining. Thanks Tim, thanks George, thanks Elwood, thanks Old Lang Syne, Razvan, Elwood, Josh, Tree, off to a boot sale tomorrow. Thanks Art, Pipes and Spirits. You have a question, go for it. What would you do if you did not smoke a pipe or cigar as a hobby? That's a good question. Art, you have now helped me in a way that you wouldn't have thought, because I've been searching for a question for my giveaway which is coming up. And if you don't mind, I'd like to use that question. Is that okay with you? I have been asking some people, you only going for the day, Tim? Didn't you go overnight last time, or did you drive down on the day? Well, hopefully I'll make it, and I'll also be going for the day. I haven't decided yet whether to drive up or take a train. Apparently it's just a short walk from the station, so I might do a train, we'll see. Alright. Yeah, for me, I really enjoy smoking in the car, so going by train would be a bit of a chore for me. Certainly afterwards, on the way back, I would imagine that there'll have been some tobacco taken on, or exchanged, or traded, or won, hopefully. I saw Toking Tommy's video this evening, and he's got some really good tobaccos, including a fair few McClellans. So I'm hoping I might snag one or two of those. Although I've never been very lucky in competitions. Alright, gentlemen, I wish you a very good morning, and hopefully next week, if I do come on, as I'll probably want to have a bit of an early night, probably won't be for as long, although tonight's not as long as it's been in the past, but a great pleasure as always. Thank you very, very much, everybody. A long day's night, thank you for joining, but we're saying goodbye. So, wishing everybody a fantastic weekend, what's left of it, and I will catch you on the next one. Cheers, Josh.